Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. I want to ask you something personal. Have you ever met a woman who seemed to exist just slightly outside the frame of everyone else's expectations? Like she was in the room, but also somewhere far deeper, like a current under the surface. She doesn't fight for attention, yet somehow, she always has it. She's not loud, not even trying, and still people remember her, not because she dazzled, but because she didn't need to. She was complete, silent, self-contained, almost like she answered to a different rhythm altogether. Now, think about that woman again. She's not interested in competing with others. She doesn't define herself through romance, or approval, or popularity. Her solitude isn't a wound, it's her sanctuary. She's not a mystery you're meant to solve. She's a whole chapter you weren't ready to read. This woman, my dear friends, is what we call the Sigma female, not alpha, not beta. She's the rarest archetype you'll ever encounter. And if you're a man over 30 wondering why your usual charm, your strategies, your experiences don't quite work the same with her, this video might explain why. Because when you come across a Sigma female, you're not playing the same game anymore. You're in a different world entirely. And tonight I want to take you into that world, slowly, intimately, honestly. So get comfortable, because this isn't about psychology. It's about presence, power, and the kind of woman who will change you without saying a single word. Have you ever sat across from someone who made you feel like the whole room went quiet, not because she spoke, but because she didn't need to? There's something deeply unsettling and beautiful about being seen by a woman who isn't trying to impress you. She's not trying to win. She doesn't chase admiration, applause, or even affection. She simply is. And in a world addicted to noise and validation, that presence can feel like lightning in slow motion. That woman is what we call the Sigma female. She doesn't orbit around others. She doesn't play the hierarchy game, alpha, beta, follower, leader. She simply walks her own path. And if you've ever been lucky or disoriented enough to fall into the gravity of one, you'll know she's unlike any woman you've ever met. She can make you feel intrigued, exposed, safe, and uncertain, all in one glance. But not because she's trying to manipulate you. No, it's because she's lived long enough to know herself better than most ever will. And she doesn't waste that knowledge on performance. Why is she so rare? Because being a Sigma female means you don't move according to rules written for someone else. You write your own code. You own your solitude like others own real estate. You are not lonely. You are selective. And that difference changes everything. Now, let's be honest for a moment. Many men, especially after 30, begin to shift. The chase gets exhausting. The loud seductions begin to wear thin. You start to crave depth. You want a partner, not a performance. You want truth over entertainment. And suddenly, those women who once electrified the room with charm and sweetness begin to blur, because you realize charm is easy. Real substance, however, that quiet, unwavering presence is rare. And then she walks in. A woman who doesn't seek to be liked, but who somehow earns respect without trying. A woman who can sit in silence without making you feel uncomfortable. In fact, her silence tells you more than most people's paragraphs. This woman doesn't flirt. She connects. Not with everyone, but with those who meet her gaze with intention. She's not going to text you first, not out of ego, but because she's comfortable in the space between moments. She values clarity, and she doesn't need attention to feel alive. She creates it. She's not the one refreshing her feed, wondering who's watching. She's out there living, reading, traveling, building, dreaming. And if you get a glimpse into that world, you're already in rare company. Let me tell you what makes this woman different at her core. First, she is deeply introspective. She has lived through emotional winters, the kinds that made her question everything, even herself. But she didn't run. She didn't bury it under distractions or new lovers. She sat with her pain. She listened to it. And eventually she made peace with it. That kind of woman becomes grounded. She becomes unshakable, not because life spared her, but because she stopped fearing herself. She learned that solitude wasn't punishment. It was preparation. And now she carries that silence like armor. Men often ask me, Esther, why can't I figure her out? Because she's not there to be figured out. She's not a puzzle. She's not a chase. She's a presence. And if you try to decode her like a game, she'll disappear like mist. Not out of cruelty, but because she doesn't need to be understood to feel complete. She's not seeking comprehension. She's seeking resonance. The second thing that defines a Sigma female is her independence. Not the Instagram kind, not the femboss babe declaration, but the kind that says, I trust myself. She's not trying to prove anything. She just lives. She makes her own choices. She pays her own way. And most importantly, she walks away when something costs her peace, whether that's a relationship, a job, or even a conversation. She's not afraid of being alone. She fears being trapped in inauthenticity far more. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. That sounds intimidating. And yes, it is. But not in a threatening way. It's intimidating in the way truth is intimidating. Because when you meet a woman like this, you're forced to reflect, who am I when I'm not needed? Who am I when I can't impress someone into staying? Who am I when love doesn't come with dependency? She doesn't want to fix you. She won't mother you. She's not going to chase your potential. She wants presence. A man who has met his own shadows, who has done the work, who doesn't get scared when a woman doesn't fold herself into his expectations, who can sit beside her in silence and still feel deeply connected. The Sigma female isn't looking for a relationship to complete her, she's looking for a relationship to grow with her. One that respects her rhythm, not tries to rewrite it. She's not interested in convincing you of her worth. She assumes you'll either recognize it or you won't. And either way, she'll be fine. Let me share something intimate with you. I once counseled a man in his late 40s, divorced, successful, charismatic, but emotionally drifting. He told me, I've been with so many women, but there's this one woman I met at a gallery opening who keeps living in my mind. She didn't flirt. She didn't even smile that much, but I felt seen. Like really seen. And I didn't know what to do with that. That is the Sigma effect. She doesn't need to be unforgettable. She just is, because she touches something deeper. Not your ego, your soul. And if you haven't made peace with that part of yourself, you'll try to run from her, or tame her, or worse, underestimate her. But the truth is, she can't be captured. Only invited, and only if you're brave enough to meet her where she lives, in the quiet, in the authentic, in the spaces between words. So many men over 30 are finally realizing that emotional maturity doesn't look like dominance or control. It looks like stillness, clarity, depth, and a woman who lives in that space will demand nothing less. She doesn't raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't demand commitment. She doesn't play coy. She simply chooses. And if she chooses you, it's not because you impressed her, it's because you aligned with her essence. That's the kind of woman who doesn't just change your life. She changes the way you live it. And once you've tasted that kind of connection, it's very hard to go back to anything else. Now, before we go deeper, let's take a breath. You see, understanding the Sigma female isn't about learning how to win her. It's about learning how to stand next to her, with presence, with integrity, with depth. Because she doesn't want a perfect man. She wants a real one. And the moment you become that, well, that's when the real connection begins. So now, here we are, standing in the presence of a woman who is not interested in being seen, yet you can't stop looking. You may find yourself asking, what would it take to really connect with someone like her? Not seduce, not entertain, but connect. This is where we have to leave the world of tactics behind and step into something far more raw alignment. A Sigma female doesn't need fireworks. She values resonance. And this is the third defining truth about her. She lives from within. Her choices are not driven by social trends or relationship timelines. She listens to her own seasons. When she's ready, she moves. When she's not, she's unapologetic. She spent too many years bending to the will of others to ever betray herself again. She doesn't say yes unless she means it. And she doesn't fake interest to make you feel secure. But here's the paradox. Because she is so self-sourced, so full on her own, men often misread her. Some assume she's cold. Others think she's playing hard to get. But let me say this clearly, she's not distant. She's discerning. She's not testing you. She's watching you. She's not cold. She's contained. And the difference matters. You see, a woman like this doesn't show you her heart in the first few dates. Not because she's hiding, but because she's preserving. She wants to feel you, your energy, your depth. Your intentions. She's watching how you treat the waiter, how you respond to silence, whether your curiosity is real or just another strategy, because she's been seen as a prize before. She knows what it feels like to be chased for her mystery, not her mind, and that's not what she's interested in anymore. So what touches her? Presence, real presence. A man who asks questions not because he's fishing for seduction, but because he genuinely wants to understand. A man who isn't intimidated by the fact that she doesn't need him, but still wants him. Because the Sigma female doesn't look for need. She looks for choice. She wants to feel that you are with her, because you are drawn to her, not dependent on her. Let me tell you a story. I once met a woman, let's call her Celeste. She was brilliant, wildly creative, had lived on 3 continents by the time she was 35. She didn't talk much about her relationships. But when she did, there was a theme. She was always too much or not enough for the men she met. One saw her independence as arrogance. Another said she wasn't affectionate enough. A third said she didn't make him feel manly. And I remember asking her, what kind of man do you want to stand beside? She looked out the window, and after a long pause, she said, one who doesn't flinch when I stop smiling. That answer has stayed with me for years, because it captures the heart of it. The Sigma female wants to be allowed the full range of her existence, not just her beauty or her brilliance or her warmth, but also her silence, her stillness, her shadows. And to do that, a man must know his own. Which brings us to the next truth about her. She is magnetically drawn to emotional integrity, not perfection. Not image, but truth. You could be deeply flawed, carrying the weight of mistakes and missteps, and she'll still be open to you. If you're honest, if you've met your own shame and can speak it without running, if you've known failure and grown from it, if you're able to say, this is who I am, without dressing it up in pride, because she doesn't want a man who's figured it all out. She wants a man who's still evolving and isn't afraid of doing so beside her. She wants to be inspired, not managed. She doesn't need promises. She needs presence. And that's where many men falter. They offer her plans, structures, futures, but they forget to show up emotionally in the moment. And here's where it gets even more layered. Because a Sigma female, as strong as she is, carries a profound sensitivity, not on display, not easy to read, but woven into her essence. She feels things deeply. She remembers words. She watches what's unspoken. She may not say it, but she notices the pauses in your sentences, the way your energy changes when you talk about your father, the smile that fades when you're talking about your dreams. She picks up on the subtle. And when you realize she's been seeing you the whole time, it can shake something loose inside of you, because being truly seen can be terrifying. But once you allow it, it's also liberating. I remember working with a man, early 50s, successful entrepreneur. He'd been divorced twice, and he told me, I keep attracting women who want me to play a role, provider, protector, problem solver, and I'm good at that, but no one asks me how I'm really doing. And then he met someone, quiet, confident. She asked different questions, and she listened, not to fix, but to understand. I felt like she was walking beside my soul. He said, not in front, not behind, just there. That's the Sigma way. She's not going to carry you. She's going to mirror you. She'll hold a space so honest, so clean, that you'll have no choice but to confront who you are. Not because she asks you to change, but because you suddenly want to be worthy of that space. Let's go deeper still. Another layer of her mystery is that she doesn't fear absence. She doesn't fear your silence. She doesn't panic when you take space. Why? Because she's had to give herself that space countless times. She's used to not being understood. She's used to carrying her own emotional architecture. So if you need to pull away, reflect, retreat, she gets it. But what she won't tolerate is emotional dishonesty. Disconnection masked as distraction. She can feel when you're in the room physically, but gone emotionally. That's when she shuts down. And this is important for every man to understand. Her withdrawal is not punishment, it's protection. When she feels dismissed, when she senses performance, she doesn't fight, she fades. Not dramatically, not manipulatively, just gently, like water slipping through fingers. And by the time you notice she's gone, she's already been missing for weeks emotionally. So if you want to hold her presence, you must first respect it. This doesn't mean being perfect, it means being real. Talk to her, not like you're trying to win her, but like you're trying to know her. Ask her how she thinks, what she dreams about when she can't sleep, what scares her even now. And when she answers, don't interrupt. Don't offer solutions. Just listen. And then tell her about you. Not the polished version, the real one. The part of you that wonders if you're still enough. The part that's still healing. The part that longs to be seen, just like she does. That's when connection begins. Because here's the truth. A Sigma female is not hard to love. She's just hard to fool. She's not distant. She's just not desperate. She's not intimidating. She's just honest. And if you want to experience the kind of intimacy most people never even taste, you have to step into that space without armor. Because once she opens, once she feels safe enough to reveal her depth, it's like finding a hidden forest inside a quiet mountain. Ancient, alive, and utterly unforgettable. Not everyone is meant to walk that forest. But if you dare to show up not with fireworks, but with truth, then she might let you in, and you will never want to leave. There's a moment, sometimes fleeting but unforgettable, when the Sigma female lets her guard fall, not out of surrender, but out of alignment. You'll know it when it happens. Her voice softens. Her eyes linger. She doesn't rush. She doesn't hide. She simply lets you into her interior world, one step at a time. It is not loud. It is not showy. It's as quiet as a deep breath on a cold morning, but it moves through you like the truth you didn't know you were waiting for. And in that moment, something inside of you changes, not because she's made you feel needed, but because she's made you feel real. You see, a Sigma female doesn't offer you a stage to perform. She offers you a mirror, and what you see in that reflection is either liberating or terrifying, sometimes both, but it's never fake. What makes her love different is not how she gives, it's how she chooses. She does not love many, but when she does, it's complete, honest, unvarnished. It's the kind of love that doesn't need conditions or explanations. It's grounded in respect, in admiration, in mutual solitude shared. She doesn't give you a checklist, she gives you a space, and she asks you, will you meet me here without needing to be more or less than who you are? That kind of love, rooted in sovereignty, is almost mythic today. We live in a world full of performance, of noise, of curated moments and filtered realities. But the Sigma female is untouched by all of that. Not because she's indifferent, but because she's already seen how empty it can be. And now, she craves only what nourishes. She won't chase you. She won't test you. She simply won't compete for attention in a world full of distraction. If you look away, she won't tap your shoulder. She'll vanish. And not to punish you, but because she's not trying to prove her worth. She knows it. And in that knowing, she becomes untouchable. Not in the sense that you can't reach her, but in the sense that you can't shake her sense of self. That's what draws you in. her wholeness, her refusal to be fractured just to be loved. But here's the part we don't often talk about. The burden of being this woman, the Sigma female, for all her depth, carries a quiet grief. Not everyone sees it, but it's there. Because walking your own path often means walking it alone. Because choosing self-respect over company means there are nights filled with silence so deep it aches. And while she may wear it well, it doesn't mean it never hurts. It simply means she's made peace with it. That's her power. Her loneliness has become her teacher, her solitude, her sanctuary. So when a man comes along who sees this, who doesn't try to fix it, who simply sits with her in that silence, something magical happens. The walls don't fall, they shift, they make space, and suddenly, the world she protected so carefully begins to breathe. She will never be the woman who needs you to text her good morning every day to feel secure, but she will remember the way you looked at her when she spoke about her childhood. She will remember the warmth in your voice when you said her name. She remembers everything. Not because she's sentimental, but because she values meaning. And so, to be loved by her is to be remembered, to be seen deeply, to be trusted deliberately, to be chosen even when she doesn't need to. That's why so many men who've loved a Sigma female speak of her with reverence, even years later, because her love isn't just a phase, it's a presence. And once you've been held in that space, the surface-level affections of others start to feel hollow. She awakens the part of you that wants more, not more stimulation, more connection. She makes you question whether the life you've built is truly the one you want, not by telling you, but by living differently. And you start to see things, the way you've been performing, the way you've been tolerating, the way you've been settling, not because she criticizes you, but because her authenticity makes anything less feel unbearable. And that, my dear listeners, is the true power of the Sigma female. She doesn't dominate, she doesn't seduce, she transforms. By being unapologetically herself, she gives you permission to stop pretending, to return to your center, to grow, not into the man you think you should be, but into the man you were always meant to be. That's the rarest kind of connection, and it's also the rarest kind of woman. And I know some of you watching this may feel like you've missed your chance, that you met her once, but you weren't ready. And maybe that's true. Maybe at that time, you needed to lose her to find yourself. But let me reassure you, this isn't about regret, it's about awakening. Because once you recognize her, once you've seen that depth, you can never unsee it. And that awareness, that ache, can become your compass, a reminder that you want more, and that you're capable of holding more, not just in love, but in life. And for those of you still searching for her, don't look in the loud rooms. Don't chase the spotlight, you won't find her there. She's in the quiet corners, the art studios, the hidden bookstores, the places where depth is still allowed to breathe. And when you meet her, don't try to impress her. Impress her by being honest, by being self-aware, by being willing to listen more than you speak. She doesn't need your money, your bravado, your plans. She wants your presence. And if you can give her that, then you'll discover something rarer, a love that expands you, a connection that liberates you, a woman who doesn't just fit into your life, but makes you want to rewrite it. So, whether you've known her, lost her, loved her, or you are her, may this video remind you of what's real, of what matters, of what's worth waiting for. And if you're watching this with someone in mind, a woman who stayed in your heart even after she left your life, maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe it's time to thank her, even silently, because not every love is meant to last forever, but some are meant to awaken you forever. And to the women watching who see themselves in this, don't doubt your power, don't dilute your depth, don't apologize for needing truth, solitude, or clarity. You're not too much, you're just rare, and rare things are not for everyone, they're for the few who are ready. And now, dear listener, I want to hear from you. Has there been someone in your life who changed you without even trying? Someone whose presence made you rethink everything? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If this video stirred something in you, leave a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe, because here, we don't just talk about love, we explore the landscapes of the heart. And remember, it's not about finding someone to complete you. It's about finding someone who meets you whole. Here's to depth, to honesty, and to the rarest connections on earth. Here's to the Sigma female, and here's to you. You know, it's not until we slow down, until we truly listen, that we begin to notice the women who don't raise their voices, who don't need the spotlight to feel valuable. The world often misses them, distracted by the noise. But the Sigma female is not here to be noticed. She's here to live fully, honestly, in the richness of her own experience. And when you meet her, it feels less like an encounter and more like a reckoning. I often think of her as the woman who walks out of your dreams and into your blind spots. You didn't even know you were looking for her until everything else starts to feel too loud, too predictable, too performative. She doesn't dazzle with charm. She disarms with presence. And that kind of presence is unsettling because it forces you to bring yours too. She won't settle for half-hearted affection. She won't pretend things are okay when they're not. She won't say, I love you, unless every part of her believes it. That's the danger and the gift of loving a woman like this. She'll accept you as you are, but not the version of you that's afraid of being real. In my work, I often meet men who say, I just want peace. I want someone who doesn't need me to be everything, all the time. And what they don't realize is, that's her. The Sigma, she doesn't want a rescuer. She doesn't want a fantasy. She wants someone who's done the quiet work. The kind of man who's sat with himself long enough to no longer need validation for every good deed. The kind who can carry his emotions without exploding or withdrawing. The kind who knows that presence isn't about showing up perfectly. It's about showing up, period. But here's the part many people miss. Because she is so self-sufficient, many assume she is closed. But that's not true. She longs just as deeply as anyone for connection, for intimacy, for companionship. The difference is she refuses to betray herself to get it. She won't contort her identity into something more likable. She's not going to water down her brilliance, soften her voice, or act naive just to soothe a man's ego. If that's what he needs, he's not ready for her. And she knows it. She's been down that road before. She's loved people who wanted her light, but not her depth, her beauty, but not her power, her loyalty, but not her truth. And it hurt. But that pain taught her something sacred, that love without acceptance isn't love at all. It's possession. And she will not be possessed. She will not be tamed, reduced, or managed. She is her own. And still, she wants love. The kind that feels like truth. The kind that doesn't require a performance. The kind where both people can sit in their full humanity, flaws and all, and still choose each other. Every day. She may not say it aloud, but that is her dream, not to be rescued, not to be led, but to walk side by side in shared purpose, shared fire, shared calm. And for the man who is ready, truly ready, this is the invitation to meet her where she is, not to pull her into your world, but to build a new one together. It begins not with promises, but with presence, not with ambition, but with authenticity, not with seduction, but with sincerity, because she doesn't want more words. She wants meaning. She doesn't care if you're rich or famous or powerful. She wants to know, can you be honest when it's hard? Can you stay soft when she's not smiling? Can you hold space without trying to fix her? That's the test, and it's one not every man can pass, but when you do, or when you do, you will see a side of her that few ever touch, a playful, tender, almost childlike part that she keeps hidden beneath the layers of independence. Because underneath that strong exterior is a softness so deep, it could drown you in kindness. She doesn't show it quickly, it's earned, not with effort, but with trust. And when that trust is there, she blossoms, not into someone new, but into more of herself. She'll start to laugh with you, not the polite kind, the deep head thrown back kind, the kind that says, I'm safe here. She'll look at you like you're not just another chapter, but maybe a home. She'll let you see her pain, not to guilt you, but to connect with you. She'll love you in a way that's not loud, but lasting, not dramatic, but devoted, not flashy, but unforgettable. Because the Sigma female does not love casually. She loves like a cathedral, quiet, sacred, timeless. Her love doesn't need a stage. It needs reverence. And if you honor it, it will change you. You will find yourself speaking more slowly, listening more deeply, breathing more fully. Not because she asked you to, but because the space she holds demands it. And in that stillness, you meet parts of yourself you didn't know were waiting. The insecure boy, the forgotten dreams, the longing you buried years ago. She holds it all. Not because she's your therapist, because she's your equal. And finally, for the women watching this, those who feel unseen, misunderstood, mislabeled as cold, difficult, or too much, I want you to hear me. You are not too much. You are just not for everyone. And that is your power. You are not defined by the people who couldn't meet you. You are defined by the way you continue to show up for yourself when no one else did. You are rare, not because you hide, but because you refuse to shrink. And that refusal is a revolution. So keep walking, even if the world doesn't understand you yet. Your presence is not a threat. It is a mirror. And the ones who fear are simply not ready to see themselves. But the one who is, he won't try to chase you, tame you, or change you. He will simply say, I see you. And that will be enough. There's a rhythm to a woman who has walked through her own fire and returned not burned, but born. A woman who didn't just survive heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, but who used it as clay to sculpt herself into someone the world rarely understands, but always remembers. The Sigma female is not the type of woman you get over. She's the woman you grow because of. She doesn't come into your life to decorate it. She comes into your life to mirror it. She shows you the cracks you've learned to live with, the truths you've carefully tucked behind performance, the parts of you that are still waiting to be claimed. And yet, she does all of this without trying. That's what makes her rare. She is the woman who can stand in a crowded room and still feel complete, who doesn't need the lights to feel lit, who doesn't bend her voice to be understood. She speaks her truth even when it trembles, because silence is no longer her burden, it is her boundary. And when she loves, it's not because she needs to, it's because she's decided to. That decision, When it comes from someone who doesn't fear being alone, carries a power few men are prepared for. Because if you are chosen by a woman who doesn't need anyone, that love is sacred. It's not rooted in fear of being left. It's born in the soil of deep choice, of emotional sovereignty, of soul-level alignment. I once had a man sit across from me, tears in his eyes, telling me about the woman he let go. She never yelled. She never begged. She never asked him to become someone else. She simply loved him with a kind of clarity that made him uncomfortable. I thought she was too distant, he told me. But I realized she was just whole. I wasn't used to someone not needing me to feel worthy. I mistook her peace for indifference, her self-sufficiency for coldness. This is what happens when men who are still performing meet women who have stopped pretending. It feels disorienting, but it's not a rejection, it's an invitation. Because the Sigma female invites you to be someone who no longer chases applause, but lives in alignment. Someone who can meet silence not with anxiety, but with intimacy. Someone who can hold her, not like a prize, but like a person. And isn't that what we're all secretly longing for? To be held in the truth of who we are, not for what we give, not for how we look, not for how well we perform our roles, but simply for being. She gives you that. If you can meet her without expectation, if you can walk beside her without needing to lead, if you can love her without needing to rescue her. She wants to be supported, yes, but not controlled. She wants to be seen, but not studied. She wants to be loved, but not owned. And if you're the kind of man who has done the deep work, if you've sat through your own storm, cried without shame, apologized without defense, spoken truth even when it cost you, then you will recognize her not as intimidating, but as familiar. Because people who've healed don't fear wholeness. They honor it. And in that space, something beautiful unfolds. Two people not leaning on each other for survival, but standing beside one another. Autonomous, sovereign, intertwined by choice, not dependency. It's not a relationship built on fixing or saving. It's a dance. A conversation between two souls fluent in solitude, now fluent in togetherness. You won't hear her say, I need you. You'll hear her say, I choose you. And if you listen closely, you'll realize that's even more powerful. Because love that is chosen again and again, even when there is no need, is the kind of love that liberates. It says, I see you, I accept you, I am with you, not because I can't live without you, but because life feels richer with you in it. So if you are with a Sigma female, or if you hope to be, don't seek to win her over. Seek to become the man who no longer fears stillness, who no longer runs from intimacy that asks more than charm can offer, who is no longer addicted to being needed but ready to be known. And to the men who've lost her, maybe she came too soon. Before you were ready, before you knew what you were holding. But don't use that as a reason to shrink. Use it as a reason to grow. Because sometimes the rarest women enter our lives not to stay, but to wake us up. To remind us that real connection doesn't come from seduction. It comes from self-awareness, from emotional truth, from choosing someone not because they make you feel powerful, but because they make you feel whole. And to the women watching who recognize themselves in these words, you are not too complex. You are not too intense. You are not too quiet or too strong or too different. You are a mirror to a world that has grown afraid of depth. Keep being that mirror. Keep walking your path. The man who is meant for you will not ask you to dim. He will bring his own light. He will meet you where you are, and you will not have to explain the way you love. He will understand it, because he too has learned to love without fear. So to all of you, men, women, partners, seekers, I invite you to ask not, how do I find someone rare? Ask, how do I become someone who can hold something rare? Because when you are ready, what is rare will no longer feel out of reach. It will feel like home. If this touched something in you, take a moment, reflect, share your story in the comments. Let this be a space where we speak truthfully about connection, not performance, about solitude, not loneliness, about choosing love, not chasing it. And if you haven't yet subscribed, stay with us. Be part of this journey where we explore not just relationships, but what it means to truly relate. Because that is where love lives. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are not here to be needed. You are here to be known. And that changes everything.